So I just recently put out a video on the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, which I've been carrying for 6 months. Have not had a desire to buy another EDC blade. Really haven't bought any knives since I bought this thing in February. Until a couple weeks ago I came across one of X-Acto's videos on his cold steel Tiger Karambit. I'd considered buying a Karambit before, but I never really pulled the trigger until I just couldn't get out of my mind after his review. So I started doing some research on Karambits and then not quite sure which one I should get. But lo and behold, what came in the mail: cold steel Tiger. I had to check it out. It's a pretty cool blade. Not anything that I would carry around, but I still wanted to check it out. Don't plan on keeping it. For my purposes, it's not very useful. Still a pretty cool blade. Let me get some close-ups of this thing. Of course, this video isn't really about the Tiger, but I figured I'd give you some close-up here. So, I told you that I didn't plan on keeping it. I didn't really know if I was going to keep it when I ordered it, but what I did decide to do, because I didn't think I was going to keep it because it's a fixed blade and I don't ever plan on carrying this thing around. I did want to find a Karambit though that I could carry around. So, enter what this video is about, primarily. Enter the 511 C.U.B or C.U.B 2.0 Karambit. Let me open this up so you can get an idea of the size difference. And even the difference of how these blades are shaped. Okay, let me put this one out of the way. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to compare here, but just for size comparison here, the way this is looking. Okay, so the 511 Karambit, the handle material is FRN and it's checkered with 511 symbol all over the place. With these indentations here, I guess for easier turning. Pretty big finger hole. There you go. On this pocket clip, it's a very, very strong pocket clip. Unfortunately though, it sticks up quite a bit in your pants, all the way to here. That's what I can't really get used to, is just how far this thing sticks out of your pants. It looks a little bit ridiculous in my perspective, but I guess I'm just not used to Karambit blades where, you know, you've got the Para 2 sticking out this far. You got your Karambit hole sticking out that far. Don't really care for it that much. It is a lockback. S30V steel. If you reference the blade coating on the Spyderco 2 that I just recently did, I talked about the diamond-like carbon coating and the differences in some of its competitors. Now this wouldn't really be a competing knife, but this is more of a matted finish to where it feels kind of like it's just been sprayed on, to where I think that this knife would really, the blade, the black finish would really come off. Like, I've really barely used this knife, and you can already see down here how the finish is starting to come off with very, very little use. Where the edge meets the coating, it's already starting to wear a little bit. You can see 511 here. It's made in Taiwan. S30V steel is the, I'm not sure the best way, the proper way to say this, but Tyranny knife series. Apologize, Tyranny, if I'm saying that wrong. The jimping on this is super aggressive, not too big of a deal on the thumb ramp, but whenever you get on these finger choils, it is really, really aggressive. I guess the expectation is if you're really using this knife, you're going to have blood all over your hands or something, so you'll need something to hold the knife in. It's a little uncomfortable though whenever you're holding it tight. So for the typical situation where maybe you just like the Karambit style and you're carrying this around, for the most part, when you use this knife, it's not going to be in a bloody situation. So if you ever do have to use it hard, I think those finger choils with the jimping would be a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I have used this knife just to kind of, in normal cutting tasks, just to see what it's like, just to kind of get used to the blade. I tell you, this is the only knife I've ever had that I've been scared of. Whenever I cut through something, you know how you're used on a normal knife, how it just goes out this way and even tapers away in a different angle. When you're holding something and cutting it, you don't quite know how soon that this part of the blade is going to come out on the other side, so you kind of have to get used to that. So whenever you're cutting, you know, this thing actually does cut fruit pretty good. Not that this thing is really meant to cut fruit, but tried it anyways, and it cuts fruit real nice. Only thing is you have to hold the fruit in your hands in order to cut it, because you certainly can't put the fruit on the table or whatever it is you're cutting and go across this way, because this tip right here is just gonna snag on whatever it is that you're trying to cut. Anyways, if you're looking for a Karambit and don't want to spend the $200+ on an Emerson, you know, this is seems like it would be a good option. I'm pretty new to Karambits here, so it seems like with this FRN handle, think like Spyderco Delica or Endura, that type of FRN. With the FRN handle, $100 for this knife seems a bit overpriced, but I guess the S30V steel is the reason why it's priced as high as it is. But picked this up on Cheaper Than Dirt for $80, which is like $20 cheaper than all other places. You can't open this thing with one hand, like that. I have been able to open it with one hand. Probably can't do it here on camera. Well, I just did it, okay. Just by flicking it out with your thumb. To disengage the lock, I guess it's safest to do it with two hands, but it's possible to just push this down and just, you know, let it fall down a little bit. Close it that way. It's very fat. You can see just the difference here and how wide it is. But it is super thin though. It's a very thin knife. Hopefully this helps. I mean, it's just an overview. I'm still a little mixed on my thoughts on a Karambit. I don't think I'm going to be keeping this knife. But hopefully answered some of your questions if you're considering it. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.